What's up, everybody? B2, and I'm going to check in. I know I haven't done a video in a long time, but it's Labor Day weekend, which means I get a little bit of time to play some games and make a video. So no intro, we're going to get right to it. I'm going to talk about some mistakes I made regarding professions, right? So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If you run in here and do RPG PR, it's going to bring them up, and there are 5: worker, crafter, loot boxer, merchant, enchanter. You can read what the individual things do. I'm still going to go through that for the sake of those who may not want to read all the instructions, right? So you can also do RPG, PR, and then worker and see the individual stats for each one, right? It's kind of neat. So if you look and you're trying to say how much do I need to get to the next level, then you can look at the XP and know the different things. And I'm going to walk through a website that'll guide you through some of the more intricate details. Now, I will say this, worker, I've not done anything to boost the worker, right? So if I do RPG, recipes, cook, it's going to give you the things that will help you raise up right here on your professions. So you can't raise, let me see, worker, crafter, loot boxer, enchanter. You just have to enchant. There's no enchant boost on here. So you see how expensive the banana pickaxe is. I just want to point this out, that's 6 super logs. It's quite pricey, the heavy apples and the rubies here. You know, to get those, that's a little bit of a pain to get. The filled loot box is probably the hardest because you got to actually get a rare loot box. Then you got to cook the filled loot box, right? So it only gives you 100 XP. So why are they important? Like, what do they do for you? And I'll walk through them real quick. Worker is going to give you an increased chance to get a better item. At max level, it will give you a 50% boosted chance, right? So how do I know that? Because if I go to the professions page on the fandom wiki, for this, it's going to tell me right here that it's up to a 50% chance, right? So right off the wiki. Now, it's going to give you the XP to level that up. So it's important, right? So you say, if I divided 246685 by 18, right here, see for big boat, it would tell me how many times I have to run big boat in order to max this profession out, right? So a little quick math. Everybody knows that if you go 246,685 divided by 18, you're going to have to run it 5,000 times on there, which is a 3-minute cooldown. So it's going to take 15,000 minutes if you just drank 100 Red Bulls and stayed up and did it, right? Basically, it just takes a long time. Now, the way I look at it, I have not worked this one at all. So I'm actually playing at the same time. So I'm going to take advantage of my cooldowns. I use another server to do this because it just makes my life easy and it's not like running a bot, right? So I'm going to do these in between filming. You guys can actually watch some of my progress. Oh, I get to buy a loot box. So this is important. Every cooldown that comes up, you want to buy a loot box. Now, I've saved enough money, so if you look at my profile, I've got millions, and so I'm going to buy edgy loot boxes every time. It's going to take you about 25 to 30 million coins on your first couple of time travels. You have to save that to buy edgy loot boxes at the start, right? If not, then you're going to be buying these smaller boxes, which are less XP. As you go up here, like if you buy commons or uncommons, you're going to want to buy the highest one that you can, which is the edgy, the omega, and godly or drops only, right? So you kind of get that. You're going to want to, on every single cooldown, RPG, buy EDLB for edgy loot box, and then you're going to go ahead and open it, and we'll see what we get. So kind of a mediocre one, but I do like getting the rubies because they trade up for the NPC. Right now, I'm at Area 5, if you look at my profile here, and I'm at the stage where I'm saving for apples, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I've got 20K, and so basically everything at my level from what I'm doing, I'm going to break it all down, and then mental, epic, log, all, RPG, dismantle, golden fish, all. The reason why is it trades at 3.75 to 1. So basically, if I have 1 log now, it's going to be worth 3.75 logs on a conversion to apples. I know that might not make sense to you, but just follow me along. So I'm converting everything over to logs, and then I'm going to trade D all to swap them from logs to apples. And I'm going to actually be saving 50,000. I do about 6,000 to 7,000 apples a day from farming. So you can divide that out and figure out it's going to take me a little bit of time. Why is that important? So I'm glad you asked. I'm going to go back over and show you, right? So was it on here? Yeah. So someone else hopped on and is playing a little bit, but right here on worker, now that's going to depend on what you get. So if I'm going to run my chop command or my RPG axe, if I'm lower level, I'm just going to get wooden logs. If I'm advancing, I'm going to get epic logs and then possibly supers, megas, and hypers. And that saves you so much time, right? So the more you play, the more you raise the worker. Crafter now is if I'm going to take these and actually make something. So like if I was going to make a banana, RPG craft banana, I'm just going to make one. Now Crafter enables you to get part of it back. See the 10%? So the higher this is, you have a chance to keep part of the crafting recipe. Pretty cool when you're crafting like a hyper or an ultra log. A hyper is 25,000 logs and an ultra is 250,000 logs. So if you get back 10% crafting an ultra log, you just got 25,000 logs that you saved. So you can see how important this crafter is. Saves you a ton of time, right? So raising that's good. Now I've not actually really done a whole lot of crafting to get there. The way people raise this is they'll farm the fish in A3 and the apples in A5, do your conversions all the way through to Dungeon 9, I think is the last one, where you can convert for a positive gain. So once you do that, you just basically break everything down as far as epic logs, and then you build, you want them to wooden logs, and then build epic logs 1,000 at a time, and go through and then dismantle them all, and then build epic logs 1,000 at a time to raise this crafter skill. So they say you need about 1.6 million logs to raise this one all the way up. But really on crafter, it's going to raise a certain amount anyway. So what I do is I raise a certain amount and then I sell the rest for merchant to raise merchant, right? Because you also want to get more for selling merchant. This is really a really important one. So, and I'm going to talk about like going all the way through the professions, like how I would do it differently this time. So just hang with me. Loot boxer, this one is pretty simple. You just open up loot boxes as much as you can. So you buy your edgies every like 3 hours, I think it is, or whatever it is, to get your edgy loot boxes going. That's going to raise your skill. So I've not done but maybe 4 or 5 cooked loot boxes, which is nothing in the grand scheme of thing, and I'm at level 66. So I would imagine another 3 or 4 time travels and I'll be through. What some people do though is they wait until they get to, I believe it's 13. Yep, and you go hunt hard mode where you have an extra chance of getting some more of the loot boxes, and so people will hunt hard mode at level 13 for a while. I'm sorry, area 13, not level, as it comes across. So I'm gonna hop into the T2 room where there's less people to hit buttons in here. So we have them separated on our server. So T1 is someone who just joined in there like a recruit, and the T2 is the tier 2, which is down here. So very few people hit T2 and T3. Most people will stay on the T1, and we've got some rooms pretty much just separated out, right? So loot boxer, the more you open, it's going to buff your bank bonus and reduce the coins to level up a horse. Why is that important? I'll show you why. Because my horse, it costs 7 million coins to 7.4 million coins to raise to level 24. Now I haven't raised it because I've found a breeding partner and we're on like day 32 of trying to breed for a T9. It's just really agonizing to do that. But that also will give you fewer coins. Like for my breed partner, she has to pay almost 10 million coins to raise hers because she doesn't have a very high loot box level, right? So when we started breeding, I said, hey, let's raise a level, and she was like, well, I don't have the 10 million coins. I was like, oh, okay, well, now I understand the significance of loot boxer. On the merchant, it increases the prices of the items you sell. So as you're doing this, again, you're going to need a large volume of logs. So if I was going to start back over on my first 2 or 3 time travels, I probably would have farmed about 60 to 70,000 apples each time, because now I wouldn't have to be doing that now. It already takes a ton to level your character up on the first few time travels because you don't get the bonus for EXP, right? So now that I'm doing that, if I go back through and show you my level, I've been farming, I'm already level 34 and I'm in area 5, right? It just goes so fast once you time travel because of the bonuses. So if you look over here on the crafter side, it'll tell you every epic log that you make, you get 1 XP, right? So as you're crafting 1,000 epic logs, you're getting 1,000 XP all the way through, and you're going to need a total of 980,000 XP to go to level 100. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why do I care about going to level 100 on all these? And so I'm glad you asked. Let me catch up with my commands. And back in. So once all 5 of these are leveled to level 100, you can ascend. right? So that means that now that you've ascended, unlocks all of these commands from level 1. So at level 1, you're able to use chainsaw, big boat, this whole bottom line. You can even dynamite at level 1. So you can see how incredibly profitable that is. You no longer have to farm for a week and a half in a certain level. Like you could probably farm it in 2 or 3 days and be ready to go ahead and shoot through. So watch this. If I go to this server and I do RPG top, it's going to tell me the top levels, right? So you got a level 432, a level 280, but watch this. RPG, is it top TT? I can't remember what the command is. There we go. 44 time travels. 44. You got to be level 27 just to get on the front, on the first page, right? Like, how do they do that? And it's through that ascending those 5 skills. It is absolutely critical to get in there and get those done. And so I'd recommend, as you look at professions, learn them. RPG, PR, take a look at them and make your strategy and say, if I had to do it again, I'd probably raise crafter first to at least 90, because then the rest of your crafting, you know, a 90 gives you like an 85% chance or so. I think at max level 100, you have a 90% chance to return 10% of your materials. And so you only have a 1 in 10 to fail at that point. So what I would say is raise crafter up to at least 80, 85, 90, and then raise your merchant, right? Because as you're now selling items to the merchant, the value of those items increases. And so then that will leave you more coins to go and do the rest of these, right? So you get what I mean. You're going to have to go through. Now, why are coins important? Because you're going to raise your horse. You see how it all plays in there? So if I had to do it again, I'd raise crafter, merchant, and then I would go after enchanter as number 3 to 100, and then I would farm to go into worker and loot boxer, right? So loot boxers are going to raise naturally. So if I had to do it again, that's where I'd go. But for right now, I have a bladed total. On this one, I'm going to spend the extra to craft a little bit, probably to 85. And then I'm going to go try to get merchant as high as possible, and whatever's left over will go into enchanter. So I'm going to farm for 50,000 apples is 50K. So at 5K a day, I have 6 days, about a week left of farming to go through, which is kind of nice because once you actually start farming, it's very simple to just fly right through the areas. As soon as the cooldowns are up, you build the equipment that you need, convert all your stuff to keep gaining, right? So if you look on this particular server, it'll tell you exclamation A5, and it'll tell you all your stats you need from there, right? I don't agree with this one. I still prefer to axe on here. Agent David and I kind of debated this one back through, and I think it's right because the max you can get here is an epic fish. And when you break it down, you really don't get the epic that much. On ladder, you can actually end up with only two apples, but you can also get one that gives you 5 bananas, and that's equal to like 60 plus apples, right? So, but if you hit an axe, you have a chance to get epics and supers more frequently, and then you can also get a hyper or a mega, a hyper, and even an ultra in some cases, but it's very rare, right? So, but you're going to break down all of them in A5, even the ultra. And the only reason for that is because you're going to turn around and trade it for a 3.75 gain. If you've not watched the trade video, do that. Hopefully this explains professions to you. It gives you a little bit of a way to grind on there, and shows you a little bit a way to be efficient. See, so if I had done ladder, the highest I could have hoped for was about 5 or 6 bananas, but now I turned in 5 supers. So if I go RPG, dismantle, super log all, I'm going to show you an RPG, dismantle, epic log all. So I'm going to trade in, did I spell it wrong? Yeah, RPG. Epic log all. So as I do trade, or yeah, RPG, basically it's going to trade on the D, right? So RPG trade D all. I've got a pretty good return on my apples from there. Look, I said his name and he pops up. It's like summoning Beetlejuice or something in here, man. So let me say filming, say hi to everyone. Let's see what he says. And then I'll throw him out my my favorite emote here. I love having this one. He's like, crud, he's filming. So anyway, that's the lowdown on Professions. I hope you've all got a little bit more of an understanding on it. If you have questions, hit the comments. There's a ton of brilliant people who watch these, and he literally said hi. This guy, he's got an open mic. All right, y'all have fun. See ya.